Welcome to the Scarps and Spikes. Sydney and Tommy with you as we take a look back at a 2-2 draw against NYCFC. A draw that should have been a win, Tommy.
We
But
had him in the first half.
we had them in the first 20 seconds, first 21 seconds. But then they kind of went downhill from there a little bit in the second half. So we'll talk about that. We'll, of course, get you ready for the match against the Columbus Crew on Saturday. For our patrons, by the way, join us on patreon.com/Scarts and Spikes if you haven't already. For our patrons, Tommy and I did an interview with Brianna McKay, beat writer for the Columbus Crew, or the Columbus Crew beat writer for the Columbus Dispatch. You hear her thoughts on the match, just her observations, her insight, and that is available to our patrons. We'll post the link in the comments. But yeah, Tommy,
Join the Patreon. Hold
yes,
on 1 second, Sydney.
yes,
Join. It's been hot lately. We've been getting a ton of people coming in to the Discord. We've had plenty of talks. We've had talks about season tickets and all of that. We've talked about the transfer window, all the transfers. Last night we had a Spaces was something. We went till midnight, but we had a fun conversation that ended up leading later into our Discord voice chat that was going on. Thanks, Gus, if you're listening. He hopped on and he did all the math of the salary cap. It was a good time.
Yeah, one of the many benefits you get as a Patreon member. So patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. Get access to that and a whole lot more. All right, NYCFC. We joked around about it that we had him in the first half, and Daniel Rios, credit to him, scoring the quickest goal in LA United history. 21 seconds was the official number from MLS Media Relations. But they just kind of went downhill from there. Atlanta, of course, went up 2-0 the first half, but then they just kind of fell apart. Bartek Salish, a really sloppy giveaway to Bakrar.
Let's stick with first half real quick.
Okay.
I want to stop you for a second.
Start
the 21 seconds. I saw Doug post a picture of what the crowd looked like at like 7:20. There weren't many people in there. So I ask you the question, how many people were in their seats to see that first goal?
Not a lot. I would say like 55, 60%. Kind of talking about that, can you blame the fans? I mean, to be honest, the team isn't very good this season. They've been struggling. It's a Wednesday night. The weather was crappy there. The storm that came through a few hours before that probably kept some people coming in. And Atlanta traffic is a mess already. But with weather, it is a crap show, absolute crap show. So there are a lot of factors. But again, can you blame the fans for not really selling the place out on a Wednesday night? They did miss the goal, like we said, 21 seconds in from Rios, who, by the way, has been on a pretty good run of form. We joked that he kind of waits late to score his goals. Wednesday was a nice change of pace where he actually waited till the very beginning to score his goal. Nice assist from Saba, so good to see that. And then Saba, of course, scoring his own goal in the later in the half. And you kind of felt confident that Atlanta would come away with this win against a good NYCFC opponent. Certainly not one of the best teams in the league, but up there. But you felt confident when the halftime whistle blew, Tommy, that Atlanta may be able to see this out. They had a chance at the beginning of the second half, but as we all know, that didn't happen.
No, and the first half, I mean, every few times that it looked like New York was going to get a chance, they turned it over. Atlanta was doing good defensively there. There weren't a lot of chances, and you left that half saying, okay, all right, this is good. I mean, and really, you could have had the penalty as well. It was offside. I know it was close. The announcers were at least saying that it was close because of the angle that they had on TV. Obviously, we've seen at Mercedes-Benz, the angle that they've given us has been questionable. Just the way the camera's set up, so you couldn't, we don't always know if it's offside. We've gotten that surprise here and there where we step like, oh, this is definitely offsides, and they call it onside. But yeah, so, Silva was offside, so that doesn't count. And then you start the second half, and it's one of those games where you start watching it, and you're just like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit worried, but I think we're going to be okay. and then you don't even see what happens. You don't even see the turnover, right?
Yeah,
Because they were showing a replay on TV, and then all of a sudden, it's goal. It's goals
right.
going in. I'm like, what happened? Like, and
Yeah,
you had to wait to get the full replay there. But I mean, a sloppy turnover by Sleesh.
Bartek, yeah, really was. And just in the interest of full transparency, I kind of looked away. So I didn't see Sleesh's pass, but yeah, just really bad. You can't make that decision. You can't make that pass in that situation, and they get punished by Bakrar, who has been slowly get going for NYCFC, but has had some success over the past few weeks. So game 2-1. Then I thought was a then the soft penalty conceded by Atlanta United. I don't know what your thoughts were, but kind of watching it on the replay up in the press box, we don't get that vantage point on the field, so we have to rely on the replay, kind of delayed. So just watching that and kind of thinking, hey, there's how much content was actually in that, and then ends up being a penalty. Does Magno scores? All of a sudden, it's 2-2, and you're thinking, man, this turned out to be a pretty crappy night. um,
Yeah, and I would say yeah for sure. And like that was one of the main topics on Spaces was like, was that a penalty? And I think everyone agreed that it was soft. And I know there was conversations about a few plays that happened after
mm,
that. I think Silva got taken down in the box. They didn't call that. I mean, you had Luke Brennan get taken down there. He ended up getting a yellow for simulation. So you're like, okay, like, but the way I looked at it on replay was that there was a slight jersey grab, and then if you look at it on video, if I'm VAR,
mm.
right, I'll put myself in the VAR, and it's called a penalty on there. I see him put his arm around his waist, and it looks like he's got him a little bit. Now he probably fell easy. I understand that, but if it's called on the field, I don't see enough on that replay. There's not a pressure button on VAR to see how much pressure was put on his hip to take him down there. So I think that you have to stay with the call on the field there. I don't think it was simulation either. I think there was
Mm.
enough to take him down, but also, partially him taking himself down. But I just didn't think there was going to be enough to overturn that. You had to keep it the way it was.
It's disappointing because you know you have to have clear and obvious evidence to the contrary that there was no penalty or nothing in the foul that could cause a penalty. So I think kind of based on what you're saying, if the call on the pitch was no foul, no penalty, and if we are to recommend that Spala look at the monitor, I think there's a world that would be potentially stay where it was, right? Because I've mentioned this, it's kind of an adjustment call to the referees because they have the final say once that call gets sent their way. VAR look at everything, right? They look at everything,
They're
goals,
supposed to.
penalties. Yeah, they're supposed to. Goals, penalties, mistaken identity, and fouls leading up to goals, I believe, are the four kind of benchmarks of VAR. So they check all of those, and then they say to the referee, hey, take a look at this. And then that's when you get the signal, and then it's really in the referee's hands. So I think going back to if the VAR had recommended that Spala take a look, potentially for a penalty if it wasn't called initially. I think he'll been well within his rights to not call the penalty, uphold the call. But again, I think we could just both agree it's soft. It's a soft penalty, and I think on another night it ultimately does not get called. And unfortunately for Atlanta United, it was called. And again, Magnol scores 2-2. Ultimately, the match ends that way.
He sold it well. Right? I think he sold it well
Yeah.
there, and the video evidence is the video evidence there, and I don't know. I mean, what was Lennon doing there anyways? Like, I mean, we got to blame Lennon for that because he put himself in that situation,
Yeah.
right? And that's obviously a problem there. You're up in the game. You don't want to give the refs a reason. They were calling a lot of fouls in that game. I thought they were a lot. I thought the game was pretty well ref, to be honest with you. I didn't really have too many problems with it. But then when that happened, the way the rest of the game was called, mostly, I would say so. I understand people were upset with the Silva takedown in the box. I don't think it was a huge thing, but like, I mean, he definitely got hit. And there was one other part in the midfield. I remember like Silva was going through like three guys, and all like I think two of them
Yeah.
were holding him up. And eventually New York took the ball away, and I don't think they were going to call anything. But Silva looked at the ref and was like, "What are we doing here? Why aren't you calling it?" And then he was like, "All right, you know what, man, you're right. I'm gonna blow the whistle and get you the ball." Like that was probably like the one part I was frustrated. I was like, what does this guy got to do to get a foul? Like
Yeah.
even if you're playing advantage, like I didn't think they were gonna whistle there, and they eventually did, but yeah, I mean Atlanta did this to themselves. I mean two things that just can't happen from there, and it goes back to being the same story, like individual mistakes that we have in a game, and something that you should have came out with 3 points, you end up with one.
Yeah. And give the team credit. They responded early. And trying to think back, when's the last time they scored twice in the match? Like, it's been a while, hasn't it? So,
Oh
yes,
well,
yes.
I mean, I think someone said on Spaces it was or I think they said that Jason said that was the first time they scored 2 goals in the first half. Is that true?
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. In fact, I got to fact check myself. They scored twice against RSL, but that's a wash. They scored
Yeah, I
twice
can.
against Toronto FC, so maybe it hasn't been a while since they scored twice, but it feels like it has. Just the
When it
uh,
matters,
yeah,
scores when it
exactly.
matters.
When it matters, they got shut out at Montreal. They scored once late against Indy 11. They scored twice against RSL. Once really to make it a match, but then the second one just window dressing. Against New England, they scored once. So it kind of felt like it hadn't been, or it had been a while they hadn't scored twice. And that just goes back to, you're missing so many pieces of the puzzle for this team. And until they get it fixed, until they bring the players in that they need to bring in, this is going to be the norm. Maybe they bring in players that I don't want to deviate too much off of NYCFC, but all this is on front office is bringing those players to hopefully get this team to a playoff position. And right now they're not a very good team. They're not a very good team. That being said, they showed glimpses of kind of the team they could be in that first 45 minutes. But a good team does what it can to hold on to that, to really bear down and say, hey, we're going to hold this lead. We're at home. We have to win at home. Now, you only hope that they can win at home. You hope that the other team doesn't score because it might be a tough road back for Atlanta to match that. So, very disappointing result. Certainly, points dropped, especially after that start. So, very frustrating in that regard. Now you have Columbus coming in on Saturday, and we already know what Columbus can do. So,
Yeah, and like you saw Silva, I mean, I thought Silva has his moments, man. Like there's games where like he just disappears and you don't really feel like him in the game at all.
yeah,
And then I mean the way he attacked, like that almost felt like the way he attacked the net, basically on the line and then kicking it off the keeper, and that sloppy rebound straight to Saba. Like it felt like a FIFA move. Like that felt like something I would do in FIFA, try to get around the keeper there.
yeah,
But I mean, Silva's like he's hot or cold, and I mean he almost
yeah.
had an Almada type goal, in that I think it was like I think it was in the second half there where I mean it just went. I mean it could have went in. I mean right there. I mean it was a nice shot there, but you need consistency. You need consistency from Silva and Saba, but you also need someone to help dish them the ball, and we don't have that right now. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, you don't have anybody to really make these guys better. And Almada made them better. I think that you're looking for someone potentially that has more experience that's coming in here that will make
yeah,
these guys better and be more consistent. Because I think that's one of the things we've been complaining about this season with Almada, and I think late last year was just consistency with passing the ball, right? So we'll see. I mean, real quick. I mean, I know we tweeted this and talked a little bit about it, but I know the MLS rules are coming
yeah.
out today, and there's the buyout thing didn't end up happening, but Garth Lagerwey was on 92.9, and it was a lot of the same. We're not throwing the season away. We're trying to make the playoffs. Leagues Cups here. We're going to try and do that, but we're trying to get guys in here so that they're available for the LA Galaxy game, which I don't know what the,
Right.
the date of that game is, but it's like a month after I
August
think
twenty
Leagues Cup
first.
starts. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's August 21st, something like that. Or
Yeah, it's like a
24th,
month.
August 24th.
Okay. So yeah, like a month after, I think their goal was is really to have these guys available for that match against the Galaxy. But the point, one of the things everyone was sending me audio of over the weekend was like, yeah, I guess he made a comment at one point saying that Sleesh was going to be a DP, and that next year that he could be the DP. And I think that got people upset because it was like, well, if you could bring in three guys, if you could do three, that would be great, right? Like getting three top-notch players here
Right.
in the next couple windows. Well, he said that that can happen. He didn't he wanted to make sure that that wasn't like ruled out. He said with these new rules coming in, and I think this is obviously tied to the Caleb Wiley sale, that we would be able to potentially not have Saba or Sleesh or Gregerson as the DP, and that we might be able to legitimately have three new DPs by the start of next season, or maybe in the summer next year, whatever. And I think that's important, because I think fans want hope, right? I don't think they just want a TAM player in
Right.
that spot. And I don't even know if you want to get into the MLS rules that are coming in here. There's different ways that you can allocate your roster now going forward. I still think that they're going to end up going the 3 DP way. That'll be an interesting thing to follow here in the next 6 months. But I think when you hear that, like when you hear DP, which most people when they you try to explain non-MLS fans, they just say it's stupid. But for us MLS sickos, we hear DP and go, "Oh baby, give it to me. These are the top players that's going to make it better, right?" So
Right.
if you could bring in three of these guys, and I think you can cook pretty well here, and
Yeah.
hopefully next year really make an impact.
Yeah, and so to just kind of round up the rules, and this was reported in April by the Athletic. Get three DPs, three U22s, or two DPs, four U22s, and $2 million in GAM. So you have to announce by the end of the transfer window this year which route you're going to take. Other years you have to announce it by the time the roster freeze rolls around. So very interested to see what Atlanta United do. They're in discussions with Moranchuk from Atalanta and Serie A. So we'll see if that takes place. If he does come in, you'll have, of course, Gregerson and him as your DPs coming into the window. Then you have to decide, okay, do we want to add a fourth U22 and get that $2 million in GAM, or do we want to just stay the course and bring in that one DP and just keep things as is for your U22s? I feel like this is just me talking. I feel like we've been in a little bit of a holding pattern as far as rumors have been concerned for Atlanta, as they've been waiting for official word for this to come out. But now that it's official, I do think they perhaps bring in the one DP, which could be Moranchuk coming over from Italy, and then maybe add on a fourth U22 player. And depending on what happens with Sosa and Navarra, who are in South America right now, depending on if their loans get turned into permanent purchase options, you could have two more DP slots or U22 slots. So kind of a holding pattern. We'll see what Atlanta United do, but I feel kind of confident that they'll take the route of having two DPs for U22s. And maybe this is just me speculating. Maybe you spend that U22 slot on an up and coming striker that can really affect your team. I guess. What are your thoughts? What route do you think they'll take? Do you think they'll just do the more traditional route, bring in two DPs, or the one DP, 2 million GAM, and then an extra U22?
I'm gonna be so proud of this joke I'm about to make. While you were talking, it hit me, and I'm so excited. We made four U22s cool. We were the first one to have four U22s, right?
That's right.
We
Right.
did it first. So MLS, you are
Wasn't
welcome.
wasn't the prettiest, but we did
We did
it.
it, baby. We're the first.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. Originally looking at this, I was like, okay, maybe they take that GAM eh, and really try to work that, take the extra GAM there and do the extra only have the two DPs, have the extra U22 there. But I listened to Garth Lagerway, and I hear him talk about looking at players in certain age ranges, and
Yeah.
his talk of wanting players to have um, experience at
Yeah.
between this age and in different leagues. And I've heard him talk about the U22s before, and he's talked about them as lottery tickets. I would like to go back and listen to that extra time conversation that he had, because it was a really good conversation. I remember him talking about the U22s, and it made me think, like, okay, I don't know if he's crazy about them. Obviously you have the ability to have them, but I think for Atlanta, especially with the resources that you have, I think that
Yeah.
you go out and you spend as much as you can on the three DPS. You you have better scouting now, so I think you're going to be more equipped this time around to go pick out your U22s this time around, as opposed to letting Heinze pick them. And then, yeah, I just think it's that way, because I just listened to Garth talk, and the way he,
Right.
he loves that age range. I think that's where he's going to go with that.
Yeah, but to that point, though, you get that extra $2 million, but on the flip side of that, you made 3 million. You have 3 million you can turn to GAM with the outgoing transfers that you've made. So maybe in Atlanta United, think about that and say, hey, we have $3 million in GAM that are coming our way anyway. We'll just stick with the two DPs and the three U22s. So I definitely see where you're coming from in that regard. Um,
When do you have to
so
declare it? You said this summer, right? At the end of this
by the
window?
end of the transfer window, so you have to publicly say, okay, we're doing this. We're doing three DPs, three U22s, or two DPs, four U22s, and 2 million GAM. So you have to publicize that. So
Is it every summer, or is it like next season? Is it like in
um,
January?
next season it'll be by the time the roster freeze occurs.
Okay.
So
I declare we
before,
should have
yeah,
an Apple. We should have an Apple special on it. Like, Apple loves
right,
to have a bunch of things. They just get all of the owners like in one Zoom call, and just like, I declare that we will
yeah.
have four U22s and 2 million GAM, please, sir.
send
Pull
that,
the
send
card
that,
out.
send that to Apple, see if they pick it up. But
Yeah.
no, no. But I think going back to what Garth was saying too, and the expectation of Atlanta United, and he kind of this wasn't a direct shot at LA Galaxy and LAFC. LAFC bringing in Lloris and Olivier Giroud, and Royce apparently going to the Galaxy. So it's kind of a backhanded shot to them when he said it, but he said, we're not going to bring in like any 35-year-old who can be here for a year or two and then be gone. We want to bring in players that can stay here for a while, that can become part of the culture of this team. We want to get out of this buy, develop, sell mentality. He didn't say they were going away from it completely. He mentioned Wiley, of course, but he said, look, we want guys who want to be here for a while. And that 20, I think 23, 28 age range, 24, 29 age range that he mentioned may be what they look at. And certainly Moranchuk falls to that bucket. Another player that falls in that bucket, and this was based on Jeremiah O'Shan's tweet earlier when he was talking about, when Garth was talking about this is important 4 weeks for us. He brought up Jeremiah so that this sounds like the 2018 Sounders. And 2018, the Sounders brought in a player from Mexico, Peruvian player from Mexico by the name of Raul Ruiz Diaz for $7 million, and we know how he turned out. So
Pretty good.
yeah, he did okay. He's pretty good, but I think Garth's point was we're not going to bring in 20, 30 million players, $30 million players. We're not going to like raid a team for a big money transfer. What we are going to do is invest the funds wisely. I think that's antithetical to what fans think. Okay, we have north of 50 million to spend. They're going to spend all of it. I don't think they will. I think the onus is going to be on investing the money wisely. Don't just go for the most expensive option. Go for the right option for your team, the right option for your culture, and the players that can help this team win and get back to the heights that it once enjoyed. So what that looks like, I don't know. Again, Moranchuk has been brought up, so that accounts for what, 10, $50 million right there. But what else will this team do is the big question.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I did catch that, and I thought that it was an interesting thing, because yeah, if you brought in a big player, right? If you brought in, I think Griezmann, people were talking about, right? Like,
Yeah,
that was a big one there, and yeah, it sells tickets, but if you're
yeah,
struggling, and it doesn't work out, or it's a 1 year wonder, and you're stuck in this contract, and then you got this, guy,
yeah.
and limping around here for a lot of the games or missing a lot of your games, and it's a worry. They want to be consistent here going forward, and I think that's really important here. And look, there's nothing that me or you or Tyler or anyone could say here to convince fans that this is going to get better because I think the club has been saying it since 2020 that they're going to be that we're going to be competing for trophies and all of this. It's put up or shut up time at this
Yeah.
point, and it starts today. The transfer window's open today, so it starts today and it goes to all the way until February 20 something, where you start the season next year, right? And that's what's important here. And they've got so many decisions to make with a lot of players. There's so many players. Like, we're not going to recognize Atlanta United's roster. And when it's, well, sorry, I was going to say when it's snowing. It doesn't snow down there with you very much. But when it's
Really.
snowing up here and I see snow and I know that soccer's coming back up, I'm going to look at this roster and I'm going to say, holy crap, I'm going to have to go to Sydney to tell me how to announce or to pronounce half these names because I'm going to have no idea because we're going to be getting so many players in. I think that's how it's going to have to happen here. And it's a good thing. And, the manager talk, whether it's, Rob staying in or it's someone else, I think it's just going to be so different next season. And that's good. And I think that's going to be refreshing, but it doesn't matter until you kick off and you start performing. And at this point, July 18th, 2025, we can't be where we are in the standings. We should be in the top at that point. I'm going to give this team a little chance because when you have a new manager and new players, it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But by the time this in the summer, we should be starting to click and we should be in the top 4 or 5. I'm going to write
Yeah.
this down and have Siri remind me of this next year and see if I'm a dumbass for saying all this. But I'm hoping that that's where we're at.
It's coming up July 20th, 2024, though?
I'm going to be in town. I'm flying,
Yeah,
hopefully.
that too. But why are you going to be in town?
The Columbus Crew, man. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. At least it's not Star Wars night.
Yeah.
At least it's not Star Wars night here. Even before this, like, I've gone to a couple Crew games in Atlanta as well. The playoff game, and I think one of the other ones, and we got completely destroyed in that one too. Look, guys, this is the best team in the league. I truly believe they are the best
beside
team in the
Miami.
league. I think they're better than Miami. I think a full power Miami and a full power Crew. I still believe in the Columbus Crew. Now they've got some changes to make, obviously, in the transfer window. They lost stupid Aiden Morris. I know we talked to Brianna before. I wasn't gonna call him stupid Aiden Morris, but they don't have Aiden Morris anymore. So Tristan Mayumba, he won't be in your head. He's not going to be falling down every 5 seconds if you run past him. But this is still a very good team. They're still performing.
Right.
I know they drew against Charlotte, but they absolutely destroyed LAFC on the road.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
I mean, Couto Hernandez is going to be up there in the MVP discussion. I think Messi or Suarez win it anyway, but
No,
Couto's,
Messi's not winning that.
Yeah.
I mean, his ankle's bigger than my head right now.
He's hurt, so maybe Suarez. Maybe Suarez or Costa could win it.
His teeth are bigger than my head.
maybe. But yeah, we know Couto's going to get.
I broke myself. Yeah. You talk.
Okay, I'll continue. But look, I mean, this is Couto's probably top 5 strikers in the league. 13 goals, 8 assists.
Top 3.
13 matches. Top 3, maybe. And
top
he's
2.
Not just. Anyway, he's good. He's good. He's the player that he's a number 9, but he can do so much more. He can create for you. He can make things happen. The offense, the attack runs through Couto Hernandez for the Columbus Crew. They had a setback against Charlotte at home. They had 8 shots on goal. Only 1 got in, Pascalina. So they're going to want that one back, and they're going to be pretty ticked off that match that should have been 3 points easily for them against a Charlotte team that has made tremendous strides under Dean Smith in his first year, really shapes themselves as one of the better defensive clubs in MLS in this first season. Granted, it's always tough to score against them. Granted, they have a player in Aguiamang who is really coming into his own as a player. But still, if you're a Crew fan, you certainly expect it to win that match. Maybe not going away, but you certainly expect it to be 3 points to allow yourself to keep pace with Miami, Cincinnati, who are kind of running away with things right now in the Supporters Shield standings. So very big missed opportunity for the Crew on Wednesday night against Charlotte in front of their home fans at that. So they're going to be upset. They're going to want to right the wrong. They're going to want to not go into the Leagues Cup break with a loss or on kind of a cold streak. Um, they need points. They're looking for points. They want to go out there and say, hey, we're one of the best teams in the league. We're the best team in the league, even though we're trailing Miami and Cincinnati in the Supporter Shield standings. So
Two
they're going to
games in
need to
hand,
make some
though.
points. Yeah, 2 games in hand. That is true. So they're going to need to take advantage of those matches in hand. They won 5 in a row before the draw against Charlotte. The match before Charlotte, of course, they just absolutely dismantled LAFC and really sent a message to the league that, hey, we're not a team to be trifled with. We're out to not just win the cup, we're out to do a double. And this is a team that legitimately, if the right pieces fall into place, if they take advantage, Tommy, like you were saying, of those matches in hand, if they can continue in this terrific run of form they're in, especially since they play Miami still later on the season, they have to go up to Cincinnati where hell is real um, after the Leagues Cup break. Those are probably the 2 biggest matches on their schedule coming up, but they have to take care of the matches they have in hand right now, and they can't afford any more drop points. They can't afford any more mistakes. This is a team, like I said, could do a double. They seriously could, and it really starts with winning matches against teams like Atlanta. To their
Yeah.
In their defense, this is a match they should win, and I'm just very pessimistic about Atlanta's chances now. They could surprise me. This could be a 1-1. It could be a 2-2 or something like that. But yeah, I'm just very, very pessimistic about Atlanta's chances. Columbus are just that good. They're just the golfing class between these two sides is just massive at this point, and I would not be surprised at a loss in the at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the game that they started the season, right? Right, it was a 1-0 loss in Columbus.
Yeah,
We thought that it wasn't that bad, right? Because you had Almada coming in late to training because he was in the qualifiers, and then you had Giacomakis. I mean, he had a couple opportunities in that game, but you don't have any of these guys. You don't got
yeah,
Caleb Wiley. You're bringing in Amador, right?
yeah.
He
He
should
could be
be
available.
available. Yeah, I mean, Garth said that he'd be available. He didn't say if he was starting, obviously, but he said
Probably
that he
not.
could be available in the game. So you see what you have from these guys. I don't have much confidence in this game at all from here. I mean, you look what New York did without some of their best players available, right? And they came in and they dismantled us in the second half. The Crew aren't going to start slow. They
No.
start games out fast, and like you said, they had a lot of opportunities against Charlotte, didn't finish. Unfortunately, they don't give us that to us when they come to Atlanta. They finish their chances against us. Brad Guzan's going to have to be at the top of his game. Sleesh,
Yeah.
they're going to have to get in. Frustrate Cucho, frustrate Ramirez, Rossi. Like those three are a hell of a
No.
combo. We'll see if any of them
Yeah.
get rest. But with this being, I mean, I know you've got the All-Star game here coming up. What's going to happen with that? I don't think they're going to rest these guys against
Right.
uh, there. They want to get the points, get them home quick, rest them, and go on from there. So, yeah, I'm worried about this game for sure. I mean, maybe they do rest a guy or two in this game because they are playing a very lowly Atlanta here. But we'll see. It always seems like Nancy has he wants to beat Atlanta. It feels like he really wants to beat Atlanta, and I don't know. I was
Yeah.
predicting that this game is probably going to be 3-1.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. 3-1. I think Kucha is certainly going to get a goal or two against Atlanta. I mean, I'll say probably a brace. I think he gets a brace against Atlanta, and maybe let's say Rossi gets the third on a Kucha assist. I think it's going to be that kind of night for Atlanta. I think certainly Atlanta will get one goal just to kind of make the score a little more flattering to them. But at the end of the night, I think it's going to be pretty much all I would say Colorado, all Columbus. I mean, I don't say that often. I don't say that XYZ is going to be a blowout, but I mean, this could get ugly for Atlanta. I mean, again, we saw what they did to Toronto FC a few weeks ago. We saw what they did to LAFC a few weeks ago. Granted, Charlotte, they played them to the draw, but Charlotte are a really good defensive team. Atlanta United are not as good defensively, and they're very inept in their attacks. So I'm going to say 3-1 Columbus. Unfortunately, you'll have the Leagues Cup break to kind of think about things. You have DC coming in. You have Santos Laguna coming in. You need probably one of those matches to advance, but the focus is on Columbus, and I think United will lose that match, unfortunately, 3-1.
Yeah, and then you get the Leagues Cup and you see what happens, and you know, at worst case, if things don't go well there, you got you guys getting some rest, and then hopefully you get some
Yeah,
some time on the training ground, which is not something that Rob's really had the advantage of doing because so many midweek games here. I expect a few transfers to come in here throughout that
yeah,
time. Like I do expect
yeah,
them to be active here because they didn't have money before. You have money now with moving on from Caleb, right? And I mean they were broke. You got two DP spots. You've got the Caleb Wiley money, and then you got the Caleb Wiley on top of that, the money that you made off of it. So you're off of his salary. You've got the additional money there as well.
yeah,
This starts now, and you might not see the greatest things going forward this season, but you can't create a team in one transfer window.
yeah,
You
exactly.
can't. This is Gart's window though. So you saw what he did last year when we didn't think he had money. He brought in Tristan Mayamba, he brought in Saba, he brought in Silva, and things got better here. I don't know if it's going to get better that quick, but I want to see the pieces starting to come together. So by time we get to October when the season's over, we could see the the blueprint of what they want to do here, and just give me a manager. Just I know we're not going to get it. I know we're not going to get it because apparently the firm and like that's been a huge talk here, and I understand they want to give Rob a chance here, but you know what? You still got to go out there and look. You still got
Yeah,
to have conversations with other people. And I think that's what's frustrating fans right now is because Garth did say that they haven't even hired the firm yet. And, again, there's a lot of big name coaches available. I don't think any of those names were coming here to be anyways,
right.
but you still want them talking to they're not doing their job if they don't go talk to him. Even if they think Rob's the guy, you're not doing yourself the service of going to speak to other managers out there to see if what's available. So
Yeah,
hopefully we start at least hearing those conversations. I'm sure things will get leaked here at some point that there's people talking to him, and that's all I want. I want rumors. Let's make this next month fun. I
yeah,
want so many talks in our Discord to be about who these guys are, pulling
right.
stats, having Henry and the whole gang, writing some good articles. That's what I
Yeah,
want. I want some hope.
me too. Me too. Hope is good.
But we're
Um,
screwed on Saturday. We're screwed on Saturday.
I hope it's not too bad on Saturday. Um, ScarsandSpikes.com. Read our content there. Patreon.com/Scars and Spikes. Again, we interviewed Brianna McKay. By the time this video is out, that interview should be on Patreon for you to listen to. So join us there. $1.17 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. Get access to our LA United fan Discord. Get access to bonus content that you won't find on the main website. And of course, you can find us on social. You know where to find us. But
Oh,
yeah,
you know where they can find us? Somewhere around the stadium. DM us,
you're gonna be there.
hit us up in the
We
Discord.
all will be there. Yeah.
Yeah, tweet us wherever you are. We don't know where we're gonna be. I think I'm gonna try and hit. I'm gonna try to do the triple. I want to stop at the supporters lot for a few. I want to hit the
Okay.
backyard. Sweetwater Brewery's doing something cool. We're gonna be
Yeah.
hanging out with them. We have no idea where that's gonna be, but we're gonna figure that out
Yeah.
at some point. Hopefully the weather permits, because I keep seeing there's just rain like
Yeah.
nonstop in the city. But I'm ready to get rained on. That's what happened during MLS Cup, and great things happened. And let's party. Let's party on Saturday.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing you guys there, Tommy. Looking forward to seeing you there, of course. But as I said, hit us up on social at Scarps and Spikes. I'm at SH Rights. Tommy ATL 96. Tyler is at ATL Pilgrim. let us know where you're going to be, and we will come and find you or come and find us. That's it. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you next time.
Aiden Moore sucks.